This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
This is what you can look forward to on episode 199 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
I'm glad there's not a rule. What happens in Canto Bight stays in Canto Bight.
And we just called him Space Gary on set.
Well, you know what? I wanted to look cute for you because it's your birthday.
Now, when you were shooting, did you try to piece together what was happening in the plot, or did you just want to go, la, 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 don't want to know until December of 2017?
This film has the most creatures, practical creatures made for a film in film history. Is The Last Jedi.
Now, when you go to conventions, is there like a creature performer clique like in high school?
He's completing his symphony with completing episode 9.
Are you ready?
Off to Neverland.
Here we go.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
When I first made Star Wars, everybody in Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
You're more than just fans. You're family.
Best day ever!
Secrets lab.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Hey.
When you use a bird to write with, it's called tweeting.
When we visit the world of Disney, we never grow old. It's a Peter Pan, Never land that keeps us young in heart.
This is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you are skywalking through Neverland. I have a good feeling about this.
Hey, Skywalkers! Hey, do you want to hear all about Gary, the space dog? Do you want to hear about a Ralph McQuarrie painting come to life? And do you want to hear some exclusive audio from Rian Johnson? Well, if your answer is a resounding yes, yes, and yes, then we want to welcome you to Skywalking Through Neverland. We are your podcast destination for the many decades of your Star Wars and Disney fandom. I am Richard Wolosky, and now everyone please say hello to my sweetie wife Sarah, who's looking very cute today.
I am?
Yes, you are. Look at you.
Well, you know what? I wanted to look cute for you because it's your birthday
Wait
today.
a minute. It's what?
Today. It's the actual day.
My birthday?
Yeah.
I'm wearing this birthday hat by coincidence. And the fact that you woke up this morning with a party hat on, once again by coincidence.
Right? No, we planned this day. We're excited, and it happens to be a Tuesday, so guess what? We're recording today, but I think, Richard, you wouldn't have it any other way.
No. Ain't no birthday like a podcasting birthday.
All right, well, Skywalkers, we want to welcome you here and give you a warm and fuzzy Wookiee hug. It's a birthday Wookiee hug to our family of Skywalkers, and thank you so much for listening to the show every single week. If this is the very first time you're tuning in, thank you so much. And you know what? You are a Skywalker. And we also want to give a big shout out to our Sky Tubers and our face huggers who are watching our live streams right now on Facebook and on YouTube. Now on YouTube, we are youtube.com/Skywalking Through Neverland. And you can tweet at us while you listen. We are at Skywalking Pod. We just love it when you share our joy in this adventure through fandom.
Now, we are recording this from Long Beach, California on my birthday, January 16th, and I'm going to be saying that a lot today on my birthday. Now, guess what we're going to be doing today?
Oh, we're going to be talking to so many awesome people.
Yeah, but first, let's back up, because my birthday's going to start off with some podcasting, gonna do some Disney days, or Disney Day, singular.
Right.
And gonna ride Star Tours. I'm not getting my hopes up. Not at all.
So what are you going to do to tip them off that you want to be the rebel spy?
Well, I'll wear my birthday button, but I don't want to lead them into making me the rebel spy because it's my birthday. I want to do it fair and square.
I think you need to wear your birthday button and do as much as you can.
I want to win this fair and square, okay? I don't want them to go, it's his birthday, we gotta let him have it. So it's gotta be fairsy-daresy. And then we're gonna go and do the virtual reality Secrets of the Empire.
Looking forward to that.
I am so looking forward to that because I know virtually nothing about this. I know James Burns had done it over in England, and I think Trisha Barr had done it. But I didn't really want to hear that much about it because I want to go into this fresh, and I am so looking forward to it. And then we're going to cap the evening off by seeing The Last Jedi again.
Yay.
This will be, well, I'm almost ashamed to say this, only our 4th time.
Right? Isn't that so funny? So ashamed.
What happened? Oh, and then, as a dessert to the evening, we're going to meet up with some Skywalkers over at Disney.
Yeah.
And the face huggers or sky tubers in the LA area, go over to Trader Sam's tonight, about 9:15. Going to be doing a fun Skywalker meetup. And I'll be saying all night long, it's my birthday. And that's the theme of the day.
Yes.
All right, Minnie, tell me what time it is on my birthday.
It's 10:16. Good morning, pal.
I figured you deserved Mickey on your birthday.
Whoa, Minnie brought in some reinforcements.
Uh-huh.
That is awesome. And speaking of my birthday, I want to thank everyone for posting on my timeline and sending me messages. And Colin Cantwell just sent me a birthday message.
Oh my gosh, here.
Yeah, Colin Cantwell.
That's pretty cool.
Who we talked to with a couple of episodes ago. He was the designer. He designed the Death Star, the Millennium Falcon, the X-Wings, TIE Fighters. 86 years young.
That's pretty awesome.
That's very, very awesome. Now, do you know what else is awesome?
What?
What's coming up on this very episode? We have a great discussion with Paul Warren, sometimes known as Skinny Steve Rogers, the Quidditch-playing Harry Potter, Varmik, who was a creature in Maz Kanata's castle. You may know him as the Ralph McQuarrie painting come to life. But these days, you can see him in The Last Jedi holding none other than Space Gary. Oh, we had to have him on to talk about this.
Yeah. Now, we also have on this episode shout-outs, a Skywalker of the Week, and things we want to share.
Sorry, I was caught up reading my birthday messages on Facebook.
I think you need to add that pause in. You can't cut that out.
Things we want to share. Things we want to share. Things we want to share.
So on January 10th, Variety reported that John Williams has confirmed he will do the score for episode 9.
All right, Johnny.
I mean, we kind of already knew that in our heads, but it's nice to see it actually confirmed by the maestro himself.
And as he said in a quote from Daily Variety, he wanted to complete that.
Yeah.
Not really the sentiment I'd like to hear. I wanted to complete that.
No. Well, I think that there's a whole lot of meaning behind that, because if you think about it, like composers in the 18th, 19th centuries, their big works were their symphonies. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, you know what? I see where you're going with this.
And so, like, for John Williams, he is a very lucky composer in that, honestly, Star Wars, the whole saga, is like his symphony, if you think about it. So he's completing his symphony with completing episode 9. And I think that's very apt. And I, compare his work to Beethoven. Beethoven wrote 9 symphonies. So many composers.
Yeah. Oh, you know what?
That's their works.
Okay. All right. You know what?
Yeah.
I see where you're going with that. I wish maybe they had printed out the full effect. Maybe even as a little, what he means is.
Yeah. But
for those who aren't musically trained, we just had one semester of the theory of music.
Uh-huh.
I didn't get that, but you know what? Now that you say that, I do get it. However, I think we all know that the driving force behind him wanting to do episode 9 was that he gets to write for his crush, Daisy Ridley.
Aww.
He being 85 years old, 86 in a couple of weeks, she being in her early 20s, I can see this working.
Right.
I have high hopes for these two kids. And maybe she'll even drop by the recording studio.
I'm sure if that can be arranged, that she will. Oh, yes.
Ship them. Go ahead. Do it.
Ship
them.
No. It's more of that grandfatherly crush. I don't know.
We have to cut that part out.
Okay. No. You can cut out the shipping too.
No. All right, so John Williams will be knee-deep in new Star Wars music since he is confirmed that he is writing a Han Solo theme for Solo, a Star Wars story.
Yeah, now John Powell is actually composing the score for Solo, but John Williams will be writing the main Han Solo theme. So if you think about it, this is kind of like the Harry Potter scores. So John Williams did the first 2 scores, but then they were later taken over by other composers, ending with Alexander Desplat in, the final 2 films. So that also Jurassic Park, if you think about that, the first 2 movies were John Williams, and then Jurassic Park 3 and Jurassic World. What was it? World, right?
Jurassic World Land.
Jurassic World. Jurassic World was done by Michael Giacchino. So there's some familiar composer names happening here. And even Home Alone, John Williams did the first 2, and then someone else did 3. So, and it's music that's always based on his themes. Superman as well. Superman's another one.
Right.
So, yeah. So this has been done before, but I think this is the first time that we've seen a film, a first film. So Solo is like the first of its kind, and John Williams will be doing a theme that then another composer will base their writing on.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be more like how Danny Elfman wrote the theme to The Simpsons.
Okay.
But yet Alf Clausen wrote all the incidental music.
Right.
So you have one composer writing the big theme song with someone else writing the other music. I thought the same thing here, that John Williams was going to be writing the theme to Solo, with John Powell writing everything else.
Okay, well, I kind of see it a little bit differently just because you're talking about TV, which television has an episode every week. It needs to be out, and basically a composer who works on television has a steady job. They're like doing the composition for each show each week, whereas Solo is a film, so there's only one score to compose, but because John Williams, once again, we're going back to that symphony model, John Williams has created this symphony of music for Star Wars. So I think it's really nice that he gets to create a theme for Han Solo. That's how I'm looking at it. Not a theme for like the film itself, but a theme for Han Solo, which we've never actually gotten in the Star Wars films.
I'm very, very excited about this.
Yeah, so we've gotten Han Solo and the Princess, of course, which is your love theme. So I'm interested to see if it'll sound anything like Indiana Jones.
No, I hope not.
Well,
that's one of the greatest scores of all time. Why associate Indy's theme with Han Solo's theme?
I'm just meaning in some of the, maybe not the phrasing, but just because their personalities are very similar.
I'm hearing this more like a Western.
I guess we're just going to hear it and continue this discussion later. What do you think?
Yeah, of course we are. Of course we are. I just want to hear like the good, the bad, and the ugly. Something that really stands out.
Okay.
Something like even the Raiders, dun 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 dun. Even those couple of notes right there, that's Indiana Jones. I want to hear something that's definitely Han Solo. When you hear it, it's like that could be no one's theme but Han Solo. So, Johnny, I know you can do this. I know you can. So then John Powell is going to roll this into his theme.
His score.
Right.
Yeah, so he'll take that theme and expand upon it and maybe do what John Williams does and work his way backwards through the film.
I do like that.
Yeah.
Originally, I thought that John Williams was going to write the actual theme, like the Star Wars theme, like the first theme that we hear in its entirety. But sounds like now that he's just going to roll that theme into John Powell's theme. Or John Powell is going to roll the Han Solo theme into what he's already written.
Right.
Getting more clarification on that. Working through it. Hey, did we hear the Solo theme in the Han Solo trailer that came out last night? Oh, wait a minute. The Solo trailer never came out last night.
No.
Like it was rumored.
No.
Did anyone actually think that was going to happen? I know I didn't. According to our Facebook thread, no one else did either.
Nope. All right, well, what else do we have to share this week?
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5
We have to share that on January 11th, we rocked around the clock as we saw a special screening of American Graffiti at the Los Angeles County Museum of Art with our good friends Brian Sims and Margaret Mays. This was extremely interesting because I know we talked about it last week, seeing it on the big screen, and I hadn't seen it on the big screen since 1978.
And I've never seen it on the big screen. I've only watched it at my house. I know we had like some copy that we had recorded off of TV or something.
When you watch a movie like this on video where you can walk in and out, a movie like this you need to watch in its entirety from beginning to end. Just
Right.
because there's so many stories going on that you need to put it all together in your head because it is one night. One night in these characters' lives before their lives change forever.
Right.
So if you watch it from end to end, you really get the idea of what these kids went through.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, well, we have some questions now for each other, and maybe you Skywalkers can weigh in either on Twitter at SkywalkingPod or right now in the comments here on our live feed. But does American Graffiti hold up over time?
My sister Lisa just chimed in. Happy birthday. Hey, Lisa. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there's lots of people saying happy birthday.
So you're asking, does it hold up? I'm going to say for me, yes.
Okay.
Definitely, because it's a stamp in time, that of the 50s, and we saw so much culture from cruising to how these teenagers reacted to each other, where they talked to each other. They didn't text each other. They didn't memo each other. But you saw a lot of dialogue going on, which for me was very nostalgic because I hardly remember a time where people talked to each other. So I don't know if it was just me, but that's what I was thinking when I was watching the movie.
Okay.
Oh, look at these kids. They're going 5 seconds without having to look down at their mobile device.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm watching it through a 2018 lens.
Okay.
I didn't think about it until right now.
Right, right. Well, what's interesting is, for me, yes, I think the story definitely holds up, that whole coming of age story. But if you took that movie and made it today, I don't think it would hold up to today's scrutiny. The focus is on 4 white guys. And honestly, today, if films do that, everyone blows up on Twitter. I mean...
Well, it would be rebooted to fit...
Right.
2018. Oh, what if they did a remake, but having it set today?
I think that would be fun.
That would be interesting.
Well, because we were even saying how, basically it portrays people in cars going down the streets, cruising down the streets, and they're like talking to each other through the windows. It's like modern day Twitter. Like when they were having that big event, the race, and that would be spread through people's windows, just like you would do it on Twitter. So both Richard and I got that vibe, and afterwards we were talking about it, and it's just so funny. But I just think it's interesting that at the end of American Graffiti, you see where the 4 guys ended up, like their stories. They don't even touch on the girls in the film, like at all. Like what happened to them?
Well, it is very, very dated. Some of the things that they say, not just the lingo, but some of the issues they bring up would never, ever be brought up today.
Like, when...
Mackenzie Phillips?
Yeah, thank you. Mackenzie Phillips, who's like 13 or something, gets in the car, and the cop pulls him over.
John Milner.
Thank you. Pulls John Milner over, and she's threatening to say that he raped her. Oh my God.
There were audible gasps in the theater.
Yeah.
Audible gasps.
It's like, holy buckets, that wouldn't hold up today.
No, that has a whole new meaning today.
But I see what you mean by the whole story holds up as a product of its time, depicting another time.
Yeah, but that'd be very interesting, having it being remade today. The same story, but of course using the kids of today.
Right. And I think that would be fun.
Now, what was your favorite part of the movie?
All right. So, honestly, I really loved just the overall experience of seeing it with an audience and the audible gasps and laughs and groans. Like when Harrison Ford busts out Some Enchanted Evening.
Some enchanted evening, you will see a stranger. You will see a stranger across a crowded room, and suddenly you'll know that she is the one.
You know, everyone's like tittering and laughing, but we don't want to laugh too loud because we want to hear him sing.
All right, now my favorite part is when Ron Howard and Cindy Williams are at the school dance, and the teacher sees them dancing a little too close and tells them to take that kind of behavior someplace else. And Ron Howard drops the mic with the most ultimate insult of all time.
Hey, Crute, why don't you go kiss a duck? What did you say? I said, go kiss a duck, Marblehead.
Whoa, put the brakes on. You know what? You don't need to come out that harshly, okay? Reel it in there, Ronnie. Reel it in. You didn't need to go there. Wow, of all the things to say.
I know. That's funny.
Hit a nerve.
I know. And now I'm remembering, like, the very first audience, like, gasp was in the very first scene. Ron Howard is talking to his steady girlfriend,
Cindy Williams,
and saying, you know, when we're away from each other, we can see other people. We'll still go steady and all, but we'll see other people. The whole audience was like groaning, like, oh, know what this means.
Because we all see through the thinly veiled scheme there, Ronnie.
Yeah.
Now, as a side note, Cindy Williams, I don't recall her being this good in this film. She didn't have a whole lot to do, but even when she's not speaking, her facial expressions, how she's reacting to the scene, speaks volumes. And I found myself being attracted to watching her.
I was watching her hair. It was flipping up at the end. So I was like, how does her hair do that?
It was very, very bouncy. But yeah, so the next time anyone watches American Graffiti, watch Cindy Williams and her expressions when she's not the center of attention.
I think another moment that the audience really got into it was when the guy's trying to get liquor from the store.
Paul Martin Smith?
Thank you. Paul Martin Smith. What?
Toad.
Thank you. When Toad's trying to get liquor from the store and he gives money to a guy who runs in and runs out and steals the liquor. And then the store attendant comes out with a shotgun and like starts shooting at him. And the whole audience was like, whoa.
Now, the question that was running through my mind that often run through your mind when you're watching a teenage film is, how old are these kids?
Yeah.
Because John Milner, the classic bad boy, he and Bob Felfa, played by Harrison Ford, they look like they should be in their 30s. And they're still cruising.
So are you talking about how old are the actual actors?
How old? No, just the characters. Because there's no way Felfa, well, we never set up Felfa as being part of the school community. No. And we get the fact that John Milner, played by Paul Amat, he had graduated maybe a year or two ago. But he looks like he's well into his 20s.
Okay. I mean, so does Harrison Ford. Looks older, 20s. I don't say he quite looks 30s. In my opinion.
Well, yeah, he was hitting 30, 31 years old at that point.
Okay. Oh, Mike Parker said, I got a kiss on the cheek from Cindy Williams at the Hollywood Christmas Parade in 1977.
Whoa! Well, love to see a picture of that.
Wow.
You lucky duck you.
Hey.
And you know what? One theme that really popped up in my head when watching American Graffiti is that you had all the classic heroes, the bad boys, like John Milner, you had Harrison Ford, and they were all loners. Wolfman Jack.
Yeah?
So they were heroes to the other kids, but when we're not exactly focusing on their story, they're more a background character, they're loners. John Milner, he's pretty much cruising the strip alone until he's got to pick up a 13-year-old.
Right.
Bob Felfa, he has another different girl every time we see him.
Mm-hmm.
Wolfman Jack, the biggest icon in radio history.
Oh, it's the Wolfman Jack show, baby. Hope all you people taking down all your pictures.
He's someone that everyone in the town can collectively say, yes, we can all relate because of Wolfman Jack. And we see him at the end of the film, and he's a man sitting in a lonely brick building by himself.
Right.
So there's a definite loner theme going on here. That's very, very sad. And I know that Lucas had taken bits and pieces of himself and divided it up into different characters. Because he was the Ron Howard character. He was the Toad character. He wanted to see himself as the Bob Felfa. He wanted to see himself as John Milner. So there's definitely a certain sad loneliness to Lucas while growing up, and that's very obvious because if you look at his backstory, he was the odd man out. Mm-hmm. He was someone who didn't really fit into the cliques.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that. Kind of dovetails into why we actually watched American Graffiti that night, and we should.
Oh, you know what? Hold on. Before you go into there, one of the questions I was really eager to get into was, would this hold up to a younger generation? And I think David Aker had said that he tried to get his kids into it,
right?
But
it
didn't work out.
Right? Yeah, my kids can't get into it, is what he said.
Yeah, because it's a very, very slow-moving movie, but it's the slow burn that I wish kids could get into these days instead of having things going boom, 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 boom in the first 30 seconds.
Right.
So if any of the other Skywalkers have kids and you want to watch American Graffiti with them, I'd be so interested to hear the results.
Yeah, definitely. Please tweet at us at SkywalkingPod or send us an email, share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com. Now, Richard, we watched American Graffiti because that was specially picked by Rian Johnson. And we went to this event. We went to the LA County Museum of Art, and they have this director series where they ask a specific director what movie they would like to watch with an audience, and then that director comes, watches it with the audience, and then they have a discussion afterward, not a Q&A, but a discussion about why that movie has influenced their work and just a discussion on the film itself as well. So this was Rian Johnson's pick.
And I was so happy to see a 1-2 punch of American Graffiti, then Rian Johnson. Oh, we bought our tickets within like a fraction of a second. So after the film, Rian Johnson sat down for about 45 minutes with LA Times reporter Jen Yamato, and we got into some fun discussions.
Yeah. So we recorded it, and we have some exclusive footage to play for you guys today.
Now, Jen had asked Rian about his very first meeting that led him to directing Episode 8.
So tell us about your first Star Wars meeting.
Meeting?
Yeah, before you got the job.
Yeah, so I had met Kathy Kennedy a couple of times, just like so they're just general meetings, and most of you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. General meetings around town. My friends and I call them water bottle meetings because you end up just accumulating bottle. They give you a bottle of water and you go in and just have a meeting with someone. And if you do a bunch of these, your car just fills up with these half-empty water bubbles. And depending on the level of the meeting you're having, it'll be either Fiji water or it'll be
whiskey.
So I had met Kathy Kennedy a couple of times, and I was obviously she's legendary. I was a big fan. I was just kind of milking her stories about E.T. the whole time, and we had really gone along. But I honestly didn't think I was or would ever be in the running for anything like a Star Wars movie. I figured, well, maybe they'll offer me an episode of the TV show or something they end up doing, or maybe we'll talk about something else. But basically, I came in for what I thought was another general meeting, and she shut the door behind me and kind of dropped this bomb of, no one knows this yet, but JJ was just about to start filming The Force Awakens, and she said he's not coming back to do it. Would you be interested in doing it? And it was as out of the blue and as unexpected as that. And I don't really remember the rest of the meeting. But I asked if I could think about it. And she kind of cocked her eyebrow at me and she was like, how hard do you think you have to think?
Okay, water bottle meetings? That was hilarious.
Depending on what kind of meeting it is, it might be Ralph's water. It might be Fiji water.
That was awesome.
Yeah, but the biggest takeaway I got was him mentioning the live action series. Now, I know this was announced last November. Well, it was really announced back in 1994. But he had mentioned it, and I was so excited because I'm not sure if that was a slip up or he just realized, well, everyone knows about it anyway. But he, like he said, he thought he was just going to be interviewed to direct a live action episode.
Like an episode.
Yeah. Awesome. More Star Wars on a weekly basis?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, please. Then Jen Yamato had gotten into Rose Tico.
Yes. Yeah. She wanted to specifically ask Ryan about Rose Tico. And Ryan talks about how Kelly Marie Tran really helped in the development of the character itself.
Tell us briefly, like, the conception of a character like that and why it was so important to you to be inclusive in your Star Wars film.
Yeah, well, no, I knew I needed a character to go, to kind of complement Finn, to go along with Finn in a very specific way, someone who's going to push him towards kind of fighting for the right side, I guess. And so I came up with this character of Rose, and the whole idea of someone who is not the person that the hero on the poster, who's not, her sister is like the badass pilot. She works behind pipes all day. The notion of a truly unlikely hero being kind of pushed into the spotlight seemed really interesting to me. And then once I found Kelly, that whole thing of her introduction, her first scene with John, and when she's kind of like a fan of his and that kind of personality, that actually, I rewrote that scene before we shot it largely because of Kelly, to get more of her personality into it. The character was written more as an Eeyore type initially in the script. So, she was a little more, kind of like grumpy and like, doesn't really trust this guy. And the more I got to know Kelly, she just has this like open, beautiful spirit. And I thought you have to see that at the beginning of this character. That's got to be what this character is about, is what she's about. And so, it was really because of Kelly that the whole kind of dynamic of the character changed. Thank God.
So I think she was one of the greatest surprises of the new Star Wars films, because she's just so bouncy and bubbly. We haven't seen a character like that. And like he was saying, that Rian Johnson was saying, that she was really designed to be this grumpy old mechanic, very jaded, but wrote the character around her.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder, like, how soon he had developed the character to when he had chose Kelly Marie Tran.
Well, I think just like on The Force Awakens, Rey and Finn were going to have this very contentious relationship, but through watching them rehearse and act and having more time, because Harrison Ford's leg got injured, this came out of it, because I think when they were rehearsing, they had more of a brother and sister chemistry.
Okay.
And watching someone like Kelly Marie Tran, whose energy and her innocence is just so infectious, he's a good writer, Rian Johnson, and said, you know what? Why are we not including this into this character? And it so works.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting how Star Wars characters or actors, they are their characters. Like Laura Dern, if you saw her at the Golden Globes, her speech, she is Admiral Holdo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the epitome of that is Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Han Solo is Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is Han Solo. And he got the role of Han because Lucas had asked him during the Star Wars auditions, hey, Harrison, can you put the hammer down and come on over here and just read against these actors? And Harrison thought, well, I don't have this role, so I'm going to read through it with so much aloofness. Is that a word? Aloofness? But
yeah.
You can see where I'm going with that. And that aloofness became Han Solo.
Yep.
Perfect example. All right, then, as we move along into Ryan's evening, he asked the audience a question we've all been waiting for.
Who wants to be in a Star Wars movie?
Woo!
Everybody wants to be in a Star Wars movie. And everybody wants to be a stormtrooper until they actually try those torture devices.
Of course we all want to be in a Star Wars movie. Of course. What kind of question is that? I know those stormtrooper outfits are the most uncomfortable things you'd ever want to wear.
Yep.
I don't mind being on a set 12 to 15 hours, standing up as a stormtrooper. You know what? Sign me up for that.
That's so funny.
And having worn that 501st armor, I know how uncomfortable it is. And having gone down to, the Rose Bowl parade that one year in 2007, 2008?
Yeah.
And walking across Pasadena in this vise. Yeah, I'm there. Still.
You've done it. It's all good.
And we'll do it again.
All right, well, let's wrap it up with the best part of the night where he gives Skywalking a shout-out.
Yeah. Well, also, I went to USC because I read a book called Skywalking. I read a book called I think it's called Skywalking. It's like a biography of Lucas, where it kind of described as this kind of Shangri-La that time in that place of USC when Lucas was there, and created this very romantic portrait of it. And that's why I went there.
Oh, I guess it was the other Skywalking.
You know what? A Skywalking shout-out is a Skywalking shout-out.
Right? We got Twitter pated. We were like, oh, man, it was the man. He said Skywalking.
And I was thinking, okay, how can I pull that?
Yeah, like, well, dude, we could totally pull that. And Rian Johnson will say Skywalking. I guess he never said Neverland, though.
Or through, but I'm guessing we can piece it together somehow.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's a major win. Rian Johnson said Skywalking.
Exactly.
Now, unfortunately, this wasn't a Q&A, but after he was done, the panel had wrapped up, the crowd rushed the stage.
Yeah.
And I did get a chance to yell over at him, hey,
who are Ray's parents? Can I get a quick picture? Who are they really? We want to know.
Everyone answer him. Damn straight.
Unfortunately, he never answered, which spoke volumes, because he said to the crowd, all right, everyone, tell him who Ray's parents are. I'm like, they're nobodies. No, I didn't ask you guys. I asked Ryan. So he never answered the question. He just deflected.
Yeah.
So he never said himself that they're nobodies.
Right. But on a plus note, people were giving him stuff to sign, and they were like, oh, 5 more minutes for Ryan, 5 more minutes. So everyone was like throwing things in, and he was signing really fast. And I just wanted to give him our Porgalicious BB-8 button, because we had one. And so I was like, I just want to give this to you. And he was so in the mode of signing, he started signing it. So, but he took it. So I think he signed right on the poor Porg's face, but at least he has a Skywalking Porgalicious BB-8 button. Yay!
Great. So good for you, sweetie, for getting up there in front of the crowd, handing this to him.
Yes.
Nicely done.
That was very exciting. There's lots of birthday wishes coming in.
Hey.
From Bryn.
Thanks, everybody.
Christopher Marino. Yeah, so cool. Yay.
Well, much appreciated. All right, now, do you know what I appreciate?
What?
A good segue.
Ooh.
So now, let's get into our discussion with Paul Warren, who was Varmik in Maz Kanata's castle in The Force Awakens, and the Dowager alien holding Space Gary in The Last Jedi.
Along with playing so many other great film icons.
So sit back and enjoy.
Be our guest, be our guest. Put our podcast to the test. Gather round the microphone and we will do the rest.
If you're caught up on all the major cinematic franchises like Star Wars, Harry Potter, Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor, Captain America, and the X-Men, well then you've seen our next guest quite a few times.
These days, Paul Warren can be seen in the spectacular Canto Bight scene from The Last Jedi, and he's working closely with a brand new character, Space Gary.
Hey, Paul!
Oh my god, when you put it like that, it sounds great.
Well, you're you have a very impressive filmography.
Most impressive.
I've been doing it quite a while, so I think it's just more a case of I've just been doing it enough to pick up enough jobs to make it look good. You know.
How long have you been doing this?
Probably about since 2005, 2006. Around that time is when I started acting. I suppose that the breakthrough for me, you mentioned it was Harry Potter. That was the very first sort of big job I ever did, and I was very lucky to be one of Daniel's body doubles. So I got to do a lot of the broomstick flying and had a lot of fun on the set, and also got to meet a lot of production crew who would then go on to other films and give me other jobs.
It's all about those connections.
Let's now talk about The Last Jedi. That's what's on everyone's mind right now. And I can't wait to talk to you about this. The fact that of all the characters in the Canto Bight scene, I'm wondering how your Dowager alien was chosen to hold Space Gary. It's like the prime objective is to get yourself seen in a huge, huge mass. But you stood out because you were holding Space Gary.
Right. Yeah, that was it was kind of a strange one. I was originally when I was asked to go in, it was originally going to be myself and Nick Kellington. And now Nick played Space Monkey in Rogue One, Bistan. So in this one, what the idea was inside the Dowager was going to be both of us, because it was quite a big creature. So we both climb inside together, and I'd operate the left side. He'd operate the right side with Space Gary. I'd do the left arm and then the head from the inside puppeteering. When they actually built the creature and we tried to fit two people in it, it was a little bit too tight. And as much as I love Nick, we didn't feel too. We would have been, sweating on each other constantly. It would have been a bit too awkward. So he went on to play Snoot. It was like the guy who looks like the hippo,
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, so Nick went on to play that character, and I carried on with the Dowager by myself from the inside.
Okay.
The actual design was done by Luke Fisher, who's become known for being one of the main concept designers on these new Star Wars films, and he did the illustration of the Dowager with Gary already. So when they built it, the puppet was part of the arm already. It's attached to the Dowager, so it doesn't actually go anywhere.
Now, I'm sure everyone knows who Space Gary is. That's the character that's based on Carrie Fisher's dog, Gary. And
that's right.
It wasn't until recently that I saw you post something that it was animatronic. I thought that was the real Gary in your arms.
Oh, no. No, a few people have said that. They said, "Is it Gary like in makeup or whatever?" You're like, no. First of all, he's a lot smaller than Gary. He's probably kind of Chihuahua size. It was more kind of the facial features and the fact that he's a pug like Gary. And Ryan was a big fan of him. And there was even at one point on set he came over and because I was standing with the creature a lot throughout the days, he just came over and he just said, "Do you mind if I take a picture and send it to Kerry?" Oh. And I was like, "Dude, it's your movie." You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, no need to ask me.
Yeah, let me get back to you on that.
Right. But it just, to me, that just shows, what a really nice, humble gentleman Ryan is. He was great, and he loved the character.
So was Gary always designed to be held by your character, or was that a late addition?
No, it was there. It was from the very first concept art. Unfortunately, that Luke's beautiful piece of concept of the Dowager and Gary is not in the art book, but hopefully it will come out at some point on something, because it's a really cool piece, and obviously I'd like it an image myself. But it was always going to be the pug and the Dowager. I don't know what discussions were had about Gary or what until the set, and we just called him Space Gary on set.
So when you were chosen to play the part of this alien, did you think, "Oh, score! I'm gonna have an action figure. I'm gonna have toys"?
Well, I hope so, because I did the Force Awakens before, so I already had a taste of what it was like to be a character and with an action figure and a Funko Pop and trading cards and comic book and and all this kind of stuff already. So I was hoping that there was going to be that sort of thing, because that's my favourite part of the job is all the stuff surrounding it, is all the merchandise and the toys.
But there's an extra bonus here, that the fact that you're carrying Gary, so that would pretty much ensure, hey, there's a good chance this is going to be the most popular alien in the whole Canto Bight scene. Yeah,
there was talk about it. I mean, a lot of talk was people actually saying, "You're going to be upstaged by this puppet, right?" And like, yeah, I know. I'm quite aware of it. It was actually also, it's important to note that Gary was being remote puppeteered. He was fully animatronic in every way. It was incredible what he could actually do. And it's a shame you don't see more of him in the film, but hopefully there'll be behind the scenes at some point. You'll be able to see it. And he was being remote puppeteered by a puppeteer called Daisy Beatty, and she was offset looking at the monitor or watching as I was crossing the set or wherever I was in the scene, and she would be constantly puppeteering Gary.
That's amazing that can happen. And
Yeah.
now the Dowager alien itself, it's not named yet. Is that correct? At least we don't know the
Not
name?
yet. Yeah, no, not yet. It's just known as the Dowager. And I was speaking to Lane Chi the other day, and he was saying on Twitter that there is a name for Gary, but we don't know what it is yet. And I imagine that there will be a name for the Dowager as well at some point. But it's all based mainly on merch in some way or another. So when the character needs a name, it will get a name. The Dowager doesn't feature in the visual dictionary like all the other creatures with a name, but you do see the image with Finn and Rose and the Dowager and Gary in a small picture in the book, but it doesn't have its individual character yet. So I don't know. Watch this space. I'm sure at some point something will happen with it, because people seem to be taking to her.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And a big shout out to our good friend Claire Henry, who had spotted Space Gary in your arms in this publicity still of Rose and Finn.
Before The Last Jedi
Before the movie came out.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and she's the one who said, hey, Ryan, is that by any chance Gary in the background there? And
yes, and he confirmed it, didn't he?
Yes,
great.
he did.
And because of that picture exploded all over the internet and was everywhere. And there's Paul Warren right there.
Right. You have to imagine as well what it was like for myself, because obviously I wasn't able to reveal at that point that I was that character, because I think it was about a week before the film came out that all of that stuff exploded and it went kind of viral, didn't it, with Nerdist and all of these sites talking about it. And there was me sitting there just reading all of this stuff, just wanting to just scream out, "I'm inside there!"
That's me.
Yeah, because it was a very long, almost 2 years from the time that I started doing it until the film came out, and it's torturous. It's absolutely torturous, because obviously you can't tell anybody. I mean, you kind of tell very close friends and family, that you can trust, but anybody else outside of that very protective circle, you can't say anything, and it's torturous is the only way to put it.
Yeah, but even with friends and family, you have to give them all NDAs to sign and make them take an oath.
Yeah, you don't go into detail with them. You just kind of just say, yeah, they ask you if you're doing the new one, you kind of wink, yeah, but because you can trust them. But anyone outside of that, it's a definite no.
Right.
I'm picturing that scene in the Tom Cruise film The Firm, when he's trying to tell his wife that they're being spied on, they're being listened to, and he's got to turn the radio way up and whisper in her ear. That's how I imagine your life was like up until The Last Jedi came out. That why is Paul always blaring the radio whenever he walks into a room and whispering to everyone's ear?
It's something you learn to do on these films. I mean, I've been in big movies before, especially the Harry Potter films, where it was kind of the same, and the Marvel films, of course, are very much the same thing. So I was very used to it already, but Star Wars is just a different level, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, and then you were at Pinewood Studios filming this scene, and I heard that the Canto Bight scene, like they had the biggest stage there. And it was like this gorgeous set. Can you tell us a little bit about the set?
Yeah, it was incredible. It was filmed on the 007 stage at Pinewood, which is the largest stage at Pinewood Studios, and it's obviously very legendary. It was incredible. I mean, what you see in the film is only half of it. I mean, it was just the biggest set probably I've ever been on. I mean, I was on the Ministry of Magic set on the Harry Potter films, and that was pretty incredible. But this is just it was unbelievable, because not only did you have all of the background extras dressed up in all of these elegant costumes, but you had there was at least 50-60 creatures all milling around at one point, and people with heads and puppets, and it was incredible.
Wow.
I'm glad there's not a rule what happens in Canto Bight stays in Canto Bight.
Right.
Because we want to hear all these stories. How long did it take you to shoot this scene?
I'm trying to remember now. I think we did it over 2 weeks, but it was kind of, 3 days 1 week, 4 days the next week, if I remember right. I do actually do a diary when I do these Star Wars films. I never kept one before until I started doing Star Wars. On The Force Awakens, I started doing it, where every day I would put a little entry in of what happened that day. And now obviously I can't release any of that stuff at this point, but it's nice for myself just to have a written down version, because my memory kind of all blends into one big thing, and it's very hard to remember what you did. But I think it was about 2 weeks, if I remember.
I'm sure you being buried under that big Dowager alien, you'd go in there in the morning. When you come out again, it's night.
Yeah.
The days
yeah.
blend.
I had it very easy, to be fair. It's probably one of the easiest creatures, and when I say easy as in being inside it. It was quite difficult to perform, but it was easy being inside, because all I had to do was they just lifted up the back of her dress, and I would get on all fours. I'd climb in and climb inside her, and then I'm basically it's basically like I'm driving then and puppeteering from the inside. I had a little video monitor because there was a little camera on the front, so I would basically watch the video monitor and kind of just drive her around the set. You know, she was on wheels.
She was on wheels?
Cool. Yeah, she's on wheels. So the trick is, because she's on wheels, I had full movement of the body, and I had a handle inside where I could rotate the body. And what the trick was you obviously don't want to see her gliding across the floor. You want to make it look like she's walking. So that's when the upper body movement is used in such a way to look like that she's got two legs. You know, but yeah, she was just rolling around. So after the when you'd reset after we'd done a take, they'd just basically roll me backwards, you know, and we'd go and start again.
Now, when you were shooting, did you try to piece together what was happening in the plot, or did you just want to go la la la? Don't want to know until December of 2017?
It's very. I'm a massive fan myself. I was born in 1974, and Star Wars came out when I was 3 years old, and I've been obsessed with it since then. Like obsessed, mega fan. So to be a part of this is pretty crazy. And yeah, I don't want it from a fan's point of view. Yeah, I don't want it spoiled. But obviously when you're in the scene that I'm in, the same with Maz's Castle when I played Varmik in Force Awakens, is I'm very interested in what we're doing in the scene and what the story is in the scene, and how we're performing, and who the characters are, and what characters are we, and what's our backstory. But anything outside of that, I'm not interested in. So for the Force Awakens, I didn't know anything about the Kylo Ren or Rey on Jakku and all this kind of stuff. And for the Last Jedi, I didn't know anything about anything apart from the casino, which is the best way.
That's very hard when you're that much of a fan and you want to be there.
Right.
But you're getting this amazing experience, though. So I mean,
it was incredible.
It's a good trade-off.
Yeah, you try and juggle it, you know, because you don't want it completely spoiled. You want to go in as a fan as much as you can, but at the same time, you're like a kid in a candy store. You want to know everything. And also when they bring you in the mornings as well, and you go in and you sign in with the creature department. The concept designers are all sitting there at their desks, and you can just see all the artwork from the whole film around the office. So you can see all these creatures. I mean, I remember when they were fitting me and Nick initially to get inside the Dowager. They were there was a guy in the warehouse who was sculpting the green milk.
The Thalasirens.
Thalasiren, yeah.
Right. So it was the full shape and it was the full size. It just hadn't been painted, but it was being sculpted, and I was just like, wow, that's pretty incredible. And then right next to it was the farrier horses. You know, there was like there was one of like a full size horse standing there, but that was being made and sculpted. It was like, wow, this is the scale that these puppets are being made at. Is I think Neil Scanlon said that this film has the most practical creatures made for a film in film history. Is The Last Jedi.
Wow, which must have been so exciting. It's like being in Jabba's palace when all the creatures are actually there.
Right.
They're physical puppets and people in costumes. So just being on this set and then in Maz Kanata's castle, I don't know how you can handle that on a daily basis.
You do try and remain as professional as possible. But I mean, the only thing I can say about that is that obviously you're both very big Star Wars fans. I don't really need to explain to you what it would be like to be on a Star Wars set, because whatever you think it feels like, that's exactly what it's like. In every way. Your expectations are met at every level. Nothing disappoints. It's incredible.
Yeah, there's being on a set and then being in a scene in a film. I just can't find the words to put these thoughts together.
I know.
That's why we interview you, because you can kind of tell us what it's like.
Right.
Now, you had mentioned your other character in The Force Awakens, Varmik, but when you were on The Last Jedi, did your character have a name on set, a production name?
Yes, it was the Dowager. That's what she was known as. Also, we called her the Duchess.
Okay.
That was one of the names that the creature department would refer to her as, the Duchess, the Dowager, the Duchess.
Yeah. I didn't know that was supposed to be a female character.
Yeah,
yes, it's a woman.
Okay.
Yeah, Dowager means like an heiress, right?
Yeah, it's a very wealthy elderly woman.
Yes.
Oh, I knew that.
Well, yeah, because what you might see when you go back, you see it. The actual scene you see her in the Last Jedi in the casino is behind the dude. She comes walking in just as the guy the massive one slams his fists on the table. That's when you actually see her walking into shot with Gary. It's very brief. You've got to really sort of keep your eyes open. But what you don't see is she's also got a walking stick. So she's got Gary in one hand. She's got a very elegant walking stick in the other, and all of this beautiful jewelry that Michael Kaplan and the costume designers, came up with. And when you get close, you can see that she's got makeup on, and she's done it herself. So it's kind of a little bit smeared and a bit smudged, and
wow,
it's all these tiny little details, and that walking stick was a proper, fully made, heavy, proper walking stick.
So she does have a backstory there. She's one of those procrastinators, waits till the last second to put on her makeup and get dressed.
Right. She's more interested in going out and wasting her money at the tables, I think.
Yeah, see, up until this point, I was calling your character Tent Man. Looks like he has like a big tent around him, now her.
Yeah, I'm hoping there'll be some either some tops cards or some more images that come out where you can actually fully see how beautiful the creature and the design is, because you only kind of just sit at the side with Gary and just point it out. But it's all of the creatures are on there. Neil Scanlon and his team, they just build amazing things, and you only see a very small part of it in the films. We're very lucky that we get to see backstage and on the set everything, but unfortunately not everything makes it to the cut.
Yeah, and when the Vanity Fair issue was released a few months ago, everyone was going crazy trying to speculate who was what character and what character is doing what, and what their backstories are. And then you see them for like a third of a second each.
Yeah.
Right. That was a fun shoot actually that day. I can let you into a little secret on that day as well. You don't actually see Gary. Gary's being obscured by one like a model that extra that was there, who was very beautiful, but she was standing right in the way of Gary. So unfortunately, he doesn't make the Vanity Fair shoot. You can just see his ears poking over the top. But I wasn't actually inside the Dowager for that photo shoot. I was there at the start when we were setting up.
Oh,
and
really?
I got inside because what was happened was, because it was all on the steps of the casino. These steps are very small and very thin, so I was kind of balancing on, just on my feet, trying to balance the creature and balance the whole thing on this one step. And it was, I could do it, but just one knock or shove from somebody, and the next thing it's all going down the stairs. So what we did is we got some bricks and we just kind of put them underneath the Dowager and just like steadied her on the steps, and I got out, and then I went out and actually watched the photo shoot from the front. Wow, it was kind of like an out-of-body experience watching Annie Leibovitz shoot it. It was an incredible day.
So when that issue came out, was it very hard to keep the secret that was going to be your character? Because everyone's going crazy over these new aliens. So you must have wanted to just burst or just stay in the house and turn off social media.
I've become pretty good at it now. It's my second Star Wars film, so I feel like I've kind of, even though I'm still very excited about it, I think I'm better at acting cool about it. You know what I mean? So I can kind of be like, when it comes out, it comes out. I try and keep the expectations down. I mean, the 1 month before the film came out, I was going crazy, but up until that point, I think I tried to. Because it can make you very anxious, because not only are you very excited about working on the film, but you don't know if you're going to be in the film or not. Nobody does, until we see it, and we get to see it at a cast and crew screening probably about 3 or 4 days before it actually comes out the cinema. So up until that point, for 2 years, we don't even know if we're in the film.
Right.
Right.
Just look at all those actors who played Padme's family in Attack of the Clones.
Right.
They thought, hey, we
Right.
got some prime screen time here.
Right.
Maybe not. Maybe you'll get a cameo in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Let's go back to The Force Awakens. I mean, because now you are a Star Wars veteran. And
hold on, let that sink in. Let that sink in. A Star Wars veteran.
Not quite. I've just been very lucky.
Well, you are lucky, and you got to play Varmik, which is one of the Hask triplets in Maz Kanata's castle. So, can you tell us a little bit about what the process was like in getting that role?
Yeah, see, that was absolutely mind blowing. I remember getting an email from Martin Rezard, who's one of the creature designers on Star Wars, and I'd worked with him before on Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor. He's also a very, very talented makeup artist as well as a creature designer. And he said to me, you know, are you available for some work? I've got something you might be interested in. Because he obviously knew, you know, from getting to know me, what a mega Star Wars fan I was, and I like to think, you know, he thinks I'm a very good performer as well. And I just remember getting a call from Lucasfilm, just saying, you know, we're putting together. They didn't say they were Lucasfilm. It's just we're putting together a team at Pinewood Studios for a new film, and wondering if you can come in and talk to us. And I think I just said, is this what I think it is? Because there'd been rumors about what, you know, that it was being filmed, and the guy just said, yes, it is. I was like, right, I'll see you there. I'm there.
Wow.
It was very exciting, and then from the moment I walked in, it was just, you know, there's people hand punching Chewbacca, and R2-D2's being built, and then there was another guy, you know, putting pieces of BB-8, and I was like, oh, what's that? And they said, have you signed an NDA yet? And I said, yes. And they went, okay. Right. And then they went, okay, well, this is the new droid that's going to be in it. I'm like, oh wow, that's really cool. You know, It was very exciting. And then Neil Scanlon brought out this Ralph McQuarrie art book and just flicked to the page of the Cantina piece that was originally kind of a Greedo Chewbacca kind of concept, and I knew it very well because I have it on my wall in my home, and I've had it for years. And so when I saw it, it was kind of this weird feeling of, I've never really believed in fate or anything, but it just, if there is anything, then this was probably it, because I just looked at it and Neil just said, this is the guy we want you to play. And I was like, wow. You know, I thought I was going in for an audition. They were basically just telling, you know, it was all done on recommendation, and literally I got the job. So I spent the afternoon posing just like the painting, and Neil would take pictures, and they took my measurements, and that was it. We were rocking. It was amazing.
So let me get this straight. For The Last Jedi, you were chosen to be the alien to hold Space Gary. In The Force Awakens, your character was based on a Ralph McQuarrie concept drawing. You must have the best karma in the world. What did you do in a previous life to have this much good luck?
And I'm with you, man. I know what you're trying to. I know. Every day, I just feel very, very lucky to be in this position. And if it wasn't for the Harry Potter stuff, I don't think I'd ever be doing this. That it was like one job led to another. Now, you got to bear in mind this is over a 10-year period as well, so it's not kind of an overnight thing. It's been a big build up of doing. You know, in between these films, I've done a lot of rubbish.
If you had asked any Star Wars fan, you have all these characters in Maz Kanata's castle and the Canto Bite scene. Which two characters would you want to play? Any fan, I think, would go for the Dowager alien because he's holding Space Gary, and Varmik because he's based on a Ralph McQuarrie original painting. And you got them both. Score!
I'm very lucky. I think if I hadn't played Varmik, and if someone was to say to me, which creature would you like to play in The Force Awakens, immediately I would have gone, that guy. Definitely that guy.
Yeah.
Because my favourites have always been, you know, the stuff from New Hope and the Cantina. And my first action figures were not Luke, Han Solo, you know, Darth Vader. My first action figures were Greedo, Hammerhead, and Walrus Man. You know, they were the first three characters that I ever had, and I've just obsessed over that Cantina scene. So to work on that scene with JJ was just incredible. And what's fascinating about that shot as well, if you remember, as it goes into the castle, and the camera follows me, like introducing you to all the characters. The reason it's from behind is because it's trying to capture the image of that painting that you see of the character from behind.
Oh, nice.
Wow, that's incredible. That even sweetens the deal.
Yeah.
The fact that you get to recreate that Ralph McQuarrie.
So we spent the afternoon trying to recreate, bringing that to life. And if you look at the Ralph McQuarrie painting as well, like the color scheme.
Yes.
The color scheme matches Maz's castle, and the pillars and the design is very much like Maz's castle. So that one piece is probably one of the biggest influences on that Maz's castle scene.
Well, and you know what? We will put that Ralph McQuarrie, that piece of artwork in our show notes so that you guys can see.
Right.
Yes, everyone can go, wow.
Sure. I'll send you some bits and pieces as well that I've got of images and, heads on rehearsals and that sort of stuff that came out that we've got.
That would be amazing.
That'd be great. Thanks so much. Now, when the First Order had attacked Maz's castle, was there something set up where your character could hide, like he's hiding in that McQuarrie concept painting?
There was going to be the creatures were going to be outside originally, fighting the First Order, because a lot of people that have commented have said, when the First Order turn up, where did all the creatures go? Because all we see is just the main characters. And as far as I remember, there's a lot of talk about it, but as far as I remember, I think it's because when Harrison broke his leg, do you remember?
Yeah. And
they shut down production, and I think that's when they decided that they couldn't, or they didn't have time or whatever to schedule in all of us being outside, because we were going to be outside at one point, I remember, but then it got changed. So that's why you don't see anybody outside, and you just assume that we got crushed under all the rubble.
Oh, no. Okay, so now for any of the Skywalkers looking at this painting, the creature in question is the one who's cowering in a corner watching Han Solo and another character squaring off.
My one was based on the one in the middle with the gun. There's kind of two either side, and that's why we ended up being the hash triplets, is because then JJ wanted to add two more of them. Now, the only difference between the costumes in the actual film is mine was the only one that had the animatronic head that was fully articulate, whereas the other two Hask brothers had static faces, but I think their mouths could open.
Oh, okay. I was focusing on the creature that we can see his profile as he's cowering behind that pillar.
Oh, with the little rat tail.
On the right side.
Yes. On the right. Okay, yes. So you're saying that he's more based on the character that the Han Solo character is squaring off with.
Yes, that's what Varmik's based on, yes. Because originally had a tail as well. There was a devil tail, which when the suits were being fabricated, they did put a temporary tail, and it was going to be animatronic or controlled in some way. But I think it came down to the fact that the cost of doing that for this character was a bit elaborate, so the tail went in the end, and it ended up being no tail. But in the actual film, I don't think you see below the waist anyway, so in theory you still could have it.
Right. But, Can I just say though, in this painting, this is supposed to be Han Solo?
Yeah.
I'm glad Han Solo did not turn into a surfer dude.
Yeah. I think George Lucas just put the idea to Ralph McQuarrie that there was going to be a showdown in the bar with an alien versus a human sort of, a pirate. And that's what he came back with. And I think it's because then he started doing Chewbacca designs. So it's kind of, to me, I think personally, I mean, a lot of people got different theories about it, but I think it's Greedo. It's the Greedo concept.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas a lot of people think it's the Chewbacca concept, but I suppose it can be a bit of, but it was definitely early days.
The design is more of the early Chewbacca concept sketches, but the actual theme of this scene is your basic Western showdowns inside of a cantina.
Right.
And I think this turned into the Han and Greedo square off.
It's two gunslingers, isn't it? Yeah, it's definitely two gunslingers squaring off.
Yeah.
But it's I love it. I mean, I managed to recently get myself a signed version of it by Ralph McQuarrie, which I've always wanted. So that's now up on the wall.
And it looks like in this painting, Han is firing first.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's a surfer dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite funny since I've been doing the convention circuit. I've got to know Paul Blake quite well, and Paul Blake played Greedo,
Right.
and we've become good friends. And you have no idea how much he gets asked that question constantly. I mean, he's a good sporter, man. Yeah, constantly. But he's a very good sporter.
We did a fan film called TPZ where we tried to dispel the myth that there was a third shooter coming in from outside, and that third shooter was Jar Jar Binks.
Right.
So now it all makes sense. So now there's, you know what? Now there's no more debate. Han didn't shoot first. Greedo didn't shoot first. It was Jar Jar Binks from the outside.
There you go. It was Oswald, the book depository.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Nice.
You know your American history.
Right. Very good.
Now, were you also a droid puppeteer for The Last Jedi?
No, I didn't do any. Those are the only two characters that I played. I think that was the sort of the deal that if we were going to get screen credits, then that's what it would be. You know, because there's a lot of us, and to divide it all up and then add another section. I guess it was just a way of just combining all of us together, but at the same time acknowledging all of us, because we do work very close together, because the puppeteer and the performer are hand in hand. You know, because while we're performing the body and you know and the movement of this character, the puppeteers are animating the face and creating the character on the face there. So we're a two-man team. So it's very apt that I think that we do have that credit shared together.
Right.
Well, but traditionally, especially in movies these days, they don't really want to credit creature performers as such. Some productions, I mean, I've been very lucky that I've done a lot of high profile stuff, and the role has been quite substantial enough to get credited. But I think a lot of the times, you know, if they can get away with not doing it, they will. I think the Star Wars films, what's great about it is they basically gave us the credit. You know, normally you have to fight for that kind of thing, and for them just to give everybody a credit to me says everything about what great people and what a great working environment it is to be on these films. Because not only are they great to work on, but they're very fair and they look after everybody.
Well, yeah, and there's such respect paid to all of the performers. I mean, even now the convention circuit, like you said, you know, there's people who were in the costumes for these Cantina creatures from A New Hope and things. And so I think in Star Wars especially, that's a revered position.
Yeah. Well, if you look back on that as well, that's probably a very good example. If you look back on those Star Wars movies, apart from Paul Blake, who plays Greedo and some of the main ones, all of those guys that were doing that job back then that we're doing now in that cantina, they were just considered as background extras, and they didn't receive any credits on the screen.
Right.
You know.
And a lot of them were the creature effects designers, like Rick Baker and Doug Beswick and Lane Liska, who designed the creatures. Were all inside of them.
There's a few friends, but most of them were you know, they would double up as stormtroopers in the day, and then you know the next day they'd be put in these alien suits. Whereas now the difference is it's especially with Neil's department, they bring in performers. You know, they bring in puppeteers, stilt walkers, creature performers, mimes. You know, it's a dedicated pool of people with circus performers, you know, with all these skills that he can then draw from and create not only Star Wars creatures, but he can push it even further, because he knows that he can put someone in it who's going to do something extra special rather than just wear it and run around in it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's what you need. Someone to bring the character alive, not just walk like they're walking in a costume.
Yeah, right.
Now, you know what? Let's go through some of your other films, because you got such an amazing resume here. Can you tell us a fun story from each of these films, starting with Guardians of the Galaxy, where you played Toothless?
Yeah, I played Toothless. It was. I'll tell you what's interesting looking back on that film now. I mean, I loved it. The experience was great. James Gunn to me is the same way I feel about Rian Johnson, J.J. Abrams. They understand creatures, they understand makeups, and they love and adore the characters to the point where they are characters in their movies. You know, they're not just background. You know, they are living, breathing characters that they love just as much as everything else in their films. But what's interesting looking back on it is I remember at the time, because this was before Star Wars was even announced that they were going to do new Star Wars, and as far as we knew, Star Wars was finished. That was it. I mean, they were doing the Clone Wars cartoons and all this kind of stuff, but there wasn't any more feature films. So for me, Guardians of the Galaxy, it felt like it was going to be my Star Wars. I didn't get to work on Star Wars, but this was going to be my Star Wars.
Right.
And that's very much what it felt like for everybody. It felt very special. Just seeing all of these alien makeups and all of the makeups on that movie, it rivals Star Wars in the amount that was done. It was an incredible amount every day of aliens and creatures and stuff. But it was more practical makeups than it was animatronic heads and that kind of stuff. It was more prosthetic pieces to more kind of in a Star Trek style than it was Star Wars.
And when you think back on Guardians of the Galaxy, is there one particular story that really sticks out to you?
I mean, I was very lucky every day to share the contact lens bus with Dave Bautista, and I didn't realize at the time what a big, WF star he was. I didn't know. I just thought, he was an actor, and this was one of his first movies. And it was only when I finished the film and I told a friend who was a big wrestling fan that I was sitting next to Dave Bautista, and he was like, "Are you kidding me? Oh my God, he's amazing." I was like, "Is he?" I said, "Oh, he's a nice dude, man. He was just a very cool, really cool dude, And out of all the makeups that were, I mean, I had a 3.5 hour makeup every single day, which I thought was tough. And contact lenses and the teeth and we were doing night shoots in that city of nowhere. But Dave Bautista had it worse than everyone. He had good 5 hour makeup every day. I think they whittled it down a little bit, but every single transfer that you see on his body is an individual silicone piece, and then he has his body painted, and it was an incredible process. So nobody suffered more than he did. And I've done a lot of prosthetic makeups over the last 10 years. I've never had it that extreme. It was brutal. Wow. Absolutely brutal for him. But a nice dude.
Yeah.
What about Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix?
Yeah, that was a good time. I wasn't really a Harry Potter fan when I did it, because I was 30. How old was I? I was about 31 when I originally did it, and Daniel was 17 years old. And we happened, we were the exact same height, 5'5", and the same build, and we looked kind of similar. But once you put the glasses on and they did the hair and they put me in the costume, it was a dead ringer really. And I just remember being on the stage where we were doing the broomstick flying that was flying down the River Thames, and we were blocking out that scene. What would happen is they would put me on the stick and then would block out the movements, so it would go up about 20 foot, 25 foot up in the air, and this hydraulic system would then computerize all of these movements and would work them all out. And then Daniel would come on the stage and he'd be like, "All right, Paul," and we'd stand there and he'd watch the monitor, I'd talk him through it, then he would get on and then he would film the scenes, and it's just a way that then they can block, so the camera can do like a full 360 round him and up and down, and then he goes off and I get back on it and then do the next scene or whatever. And I just remember there was one scene where I was doing it with Creature in Gary Oldman's house, and Gary Oldman's my favorite actor. He always has been, and one of the most exciting things about being on the Potter films was not being on Harry Potter, as much fun as it was, but it's because it was Gary Oldman was on it. And I remember him coming down onto the set, and he just walks in and everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's Gary Oldman, Gary Oldman." And I was just sitting there going, "Oh my God, it's Gary Oldman." And I'm dressed up in the full Potter stuff at the moment with the scar and the glasses and all this sort of thing. And he just wanders over casually and walks up and goes, "Hello, Harry. I'm Gary." Like that. It's like, oh man, nice to meet you. It just made my day, man. He was super cool. Oh. So for me, that was my favorite moment, I think.
That's great that you get to meet your heroes and they're actually really nice.
Yeah.
Such a nice man. I mean, it was brief and it was just for that day, and it was it was fleeting, but he couldn't have been nicer.
All right, now what about Captain America: First Avenger?
Oh yes, I did the pre-production Skinny Steve test, which was interesting. I got that job after I did Harry Potter, actually, because of all the body doubling I did on that. A lot of the English crew then went on to Captain America because it was filmed here, and they were looking for a Skinny Steve, and they said, obviously, do you know anyone? And then I was recommended to them, but I still had to audition for it, and the audition process was I was in this room, and there were small guys, and they were like big Captain America sized guys. And we're all sitting in this room, and we didn't really know what was going on or what we were there for or whatever. We knew it was kind of a Marvel film, but we didn't know what it was. And what they did is they lined us up. So they had the shortest people, and there was a few people shorter than me. There was probably about 15, 20 people. And then so they did it from the smallest to the largest, all in a line. And then Joe Johnson came in. I can't remember if Chris Evans was with him at that point or not. Got to meet him later, but I can't remember. But Joe Johnson was definitely there, and he just looked up the line and, pointed at a few of us, and then turned to his assistant and mumbled something, and then he just kind of looked back at me and said, "What's your name?" And I said, "It's Paul." He said, "Paul, can you act?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he went, "All right, you got the job." I was like, "All right, great." And then I was thinking, "What job? What is it?" And then for the rest of the afternoon, they were like, I had to do a lot of topless pictures, and it was a kind of a strange situation. And then I spent a few days then with Lola effects with Chris Townsend, who was he's now gone on to do a lot of the Marvel films as the supervisor for the CGI, and they just basically used me with different tests and motion capture and head replacement, and just to work out the effect of how they were actually going to do it. So for that moment, and then for the recruitment scene, they got me on set as a visual reference to do a couple of passes where they could then use it and then mix and match. And then for the remainder of the film, it was a guy called Leander who they used, he was a bit taller than me, so he was used for the scenes where they were walking around.
What was it like actually seeing the film then, after knowing what went into it?
Crazy good, because I thought, even when I was doing it, even though I was behind it and saw what they were doing, I still just thought it was going to just be head replacement. What I didn't realize what they actually did was, not only was it head replacement, it was face replacement and it was skin replacement. So basically the only thing that's left is Leander's performance underneath it. All the rest of it is Chris's skin that's been mapped over the top. So it's it's a weird, it's like digital makeup, I guess.
Yeah, and in the end, it's so seamless.
Yeah, and what's interesting as well for the Winter Soldier is when they went back to Atlanta, because all the Marvel films were being filmed in England at that point, and I think when Star Wars came in and some other Disney movies, Cinderella and all that stuff came in, they took the Marvel to Pinewood in Atlanta. So all the Marvel films went back to America. And for Winter Soldier, there's an actual scene of Skinny Steve, which is another guy whose name I can't recall at the moment. And I think they used the same technique then on this guy to do those flashback scenes in that movie. So there's quite a few Skinny Steves around. And I'm just lucky to have been the original template, I guess. Like the original James Bond. Right?
Yeah. You are the Sean Connery of Steve Rogers.
Right.
That's awesome. And then you were a body double for another well-known Marvel character.
Yes. Oh, I did young Magneto in the X-Men as well.
X-Men First Class.
Yeah, this goes way back to my my double days, which I love doing. I wouldn't be doing creature performing now if it wasn't for this. It was a good experience to not only learn how to behave on film sets, but it's also very sort of physical. Well, I was very lucky to do very physically demanding body doubling roles, which would really push me physically, which would then give me the opportunity to show everybody, what I could do. But that was a short one. Actually, that one it was mainly for the Bill Milner, who played the young Eric, and it was the scene where you see all the stuff in Kevin Bacon in the early when he's in Germany, and there's all that stuff in that room that Eric is making spin around, like all the apparatus behind that glass panel, and it was all practical, and they told me that the glass was like shatterproof and bulletproof and all this kind of stuff, and you won't get hurt. But all of that stuff was actually spinning around there. I think they added a few CGI elements, but the majority of it was really there, banging and crashing and smashing against the wall in front of your face. And I guess they didn't really want to stick a 14-year-old in front of it. So I got the job.
Take the 14-year-old out, and where's Paul? Paul will do it.
Yeah. Where's the expendable adult? Let's bring him in.
Yeah. Not as much paperwork to fill out. So where's Paul?
Yeah. He signed his life away. He'll do it. But, I mean, that was good. I mean, it was quite intimate. What you don't see is like, from the back it looks very exciting, but what you don't see from the front is my face is just all screwed up and like, oh god, oh no.
I better get a Star Wars roll out of this. I better get a Star Wars roll out of this.
Yeah.
All right, now where can we see you next?
Last year I finished a movie called Ghost Stories, where I play one of the creatures in the movie. I don't want to say too much about it because it's a very twist and turny sort of, it can be spoiled quite easily. But it's a really great movie. It's got Martin Freeman in it, and it's a very cool horror movie, British horror film. There's some trailers that are online and some posters now that's just being released. I recommend sort of watching the trailer. It doesn't spoil anything, but it's a very cool British horror film, and I'm very lucky to play a monster in it.
Oh, what kind of monster?
Don't want to say.
Okay.
It's probably best to experience it because it's it's one of those movies that you just, it's best to go in not knowing anything and just watch it,
right.
And then you'll enjoy it a whole lot more.
This is coming out
it's
when?
Very cool. Comes out in April. It's going to be it's April in the UK. It is going to be in the States. It's being put out by Lionsgate, so it should get a wide release.
Oh, good.
So,
nice.
Yeah, look out for it. It's very, very cool. If you like ghost stories and you like monsters and that kind of stuff, it's very, very cool.
Nice.
Okay.
Now, who do you play in Solo, a Star Wars story?
Oh, I can't talk about any future Star Wars stuff.
I was hoping to very slyly
you know this.
slip
You
that
know the
in.
rules. I've been trained. I've been trained in this.
Well, you know what? Our friend D Tails had already released the fact that he was in Solo.
See, I can't confirm or deny anything.
So
maybe not. But the thing is, we don't, we don't do them all of us. Some of us are very lucky to do them. I've only done two of them so far, which I'm very grateful for. And if I never do any more, then I'm quite happy with that. But obviously, I'd love to do 9, 7, 8, and 9 would be a dream. But I didn't do Rogue One, for example. I didn't work on that movie, just because it was a smaller set of performers, and they whittled it down, so a lot of us didn't get to work on it, which was a shame. But fingers crossed there'll be more. Who knows?
So hypothetically, if you were in Solo, who would you play?
Chewbacca.
I don't think he's telling us the truth.
What it is, it's me and Nick in Chewbacca. So I'm on Nick's shoulders.
There you go.
And they needed 2 people for it.
Yeah, so I guess now Eunice needs a stand-in.
Right. Yeah, he's a lovely dude.
Yeah. Are you working on anything right now that you can talk about?
No, I'm not actually. I mean, I haven't done anything. I was talking to some of them. I didn't really do much last year at all. And obviously the way it works is, you film it one year and then either the year later or the second year, the film will come out. So I'm very lucky with Star Wars came out very recently, and then you've got Ghost Stories in April. But after that, because I haven't worked this year, there's going to be a gap in between. Okay. So hopefully, I did. I forgot. How can I forget this? I did Ready Player One.
Dude.
I did a little bit on that. I did some little bits of motion reference for some bits and pieces. Only small things. It was great. It was great.
Did you work with Steven Spielberg?
Yeah, I got one day with Spielberg. Yeah.
Oh, fun.
It was incredible. My favorite director is Steven Spielberg. So another stroke of luck where I just get to they just call me in for a day. I was only on it for one day, and they brought me in, and it was just for a particular scene where they wanted somebody to provide movement for this virtual reality thing. I'll go more into it when the movie comes out, but
yeah,
I mean, it was only it was very, very brief, but just one day on a Spielberg set is all I needed, and just to meet Spielberg and just be directed by him just briefly was perfect,
Wow.
Boy, there's 35 bucket list items you can cross off your list within the last 12 months.
I've done it. When I did Star Wars, the Force Awakens, I was just I'm done. I'm done. I'm retiring. I'm done. I never have to do anything ever again. Anything on top of that now is a bonus.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I've been very lucky and I'm very grateful. But there's been a lot of people that have, along the way, that have recommended me. And there's been a lot of makeup artists that I've worked with and workshops and that work in these creature departments that recommend me for these jobs. That I'm very grateful for, because they believe in what I do and they like working with me and I like working with them. So hopefully we'll continue to do it.
Now, when you go to conventions, is there like a creature performer clique like in high school with you and Dee and Paul Blake?
Yeah, there is a little bit. Yeah, it is. I like to collect I've never collected autographs before, but since I've been doing the conventions over the last few years, I've been collecting the old school aliens from Star Wars. Like I say, I got to know Paul quite well, and he's a really nice dude. And it was only after I've known him for about a year that I actually turned to him and said, Paul, this is going to sound really weird, but would you sign a picture for me? You know, I said, I've never asked before, but would you? He went, no, of course, no problem. But excellent. Which one do you want? I was like, great, and he did it. And it's the same with Mike Quinn as well. I recently went to Japan with Mike, and we did some signings there. And I'd never met Mike before, even though he was in Force Awakens. I mean, obviously he was in the originals, but in Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, we were both in different scenes. Like Nine Num, his character Nine, never entered any of the scenes that we did. And he was saying he was quite jealous that you know, why he was doing his bits, which he loved doing, but he really wanted to like just come over, because he's a puppeteer by trade, and he just really wanted to come over to the Maz's castle and the casino stuff and just like check out and play with all the things and all that sort of stuff. So I asked Mike as well, after getting to know him, if I could have one. And
hey Mike, I'll trade you one Paul Warren for Mike Quinn.
Yeah.
Did it go something like that?
Yeah, a bit like that. Because all of these guys, they're big fans of it too, as well. You know, they love it and they know it and appreciate it just as much as anyone else. Yeah. But yeah, so rather than sort of, you know, the A-list stars, I like collecting Greedo, Nine Num, and I'm desperate to get myself a Hammerhead, but I feel like I can't remember the guy who was inside or if he's even alive still. But that would be quite interesting. I have to look into that.
Richard's trying to think.
Yeah, you know what? I'm trying to rack my brain
because he's not one of those guys, is he? Where you're like, oh yeah, he played Hammerhead. You know, you don't. I guess he's not around anymore. I don't know.
Having worked in the creature effects department, I did get a chance to meet a lot of these Cantina performers, and I was just going nuts. But I don't recall anyone ever saying they played Hammerhead or seeing any behind-the-scenes stills of the guy inside with the mask off.
Yeah. There you go. That's a question.
Yeah, you don't have to look into that.
Yeah, if anybody knows, please tweet at us at SkywalkingPod.
Well, when we're done with this, I'm going to get right on that.
Yeah, okay.
All right there, Paul. With that, maybe we can talk to you again after you played Greedo in a Solo: A Star Wars Story?
Yeah, so again, you cut out.
I said, with that, maybe we can talk to you after you've played Greedo or Walrus Man in Solo: A Star Wars Story. Maybe we can talk to you then.
You have to say it again, you cut out.
I think he's messing with you, Richard.
Okay, you know what? Just come right out and tell us, because the connection's really bad. Who do you play in Solo: A Star Wars Story?
He's not very good at this, is he? You know, it's like this is easy. This is easy for me.
You know what? Do me a favor and just say Hammerhead so I can cut that in.
I'd love that. Wouldn't that be great?
Say it so I can cut it in.
That would be amazing.
Who's that Cantina creature?
Very interested. I mean, what was great about working on all these films is even though you're on them, you still don't really know what it's going to be like until you see them in the cinema. Same with The Last Jedi. I mean, I don't think any of us had any idea it was going to be that crazy, you know, and that great. I mean, I loved it. I adored it. I know it split people down the middle a lot, but I've been back multiple times, and as a fan, I don't think anyone is as much a fan as me, or is just as much of a fan. You know, I love it.
Which is why it's going to be really exciting for you to play Hammerhead in Solo: A Star Wars Story. You know, I'll never give up on this.
I think we can pretty much guarantee Hammerhead won't be in any of the films again.
But he will be walking around
In
Galaxy's Edge.
Is that right? Is that
Yes.
oh right? Is that now that would be great.
Yeah, it's not the same Hammerhead as in the Cantina. It's
Yes.
just another Ithorian.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I hadn't thought about maybe milling around. There might be like a Varmik, some poor guy that has to wear like that suit and has to run around every day, like running around like a Maz's Castle set or something. You know.
Wow. Well, you know what, Paul? This was amazing to get to talk to you, and just you have such incredible karma. So we can't wait to hear what you played in Solo: A Star Wars Story.
Blue Snaggletooth?
You cut out again.
But until then, can you tell our listeners where they can find you on social media so they can, pester you?
I've got Twitter, which is Paul R. Warren.
Okay.
I've got Instagram, which is the same, Paul R. Warren. And I've got a Facebook page, which is... Hang on, let me just get this up. Yeah, Facebook is Paul Warren Actor.
Paul Warren Actor, great.
All right, Skywalkers, hear that? So go pester Paul R. Warren.
Yes, please.
All right, Paul. Well, thank you so very, very much. And we'll see you in the Cantina in Solo: A Star Wars Story.
Yeah. I appreciate you talking to me, guys. It was great. It was great. It was good fun.
Boy, he's a hard nut to crack.
He is.
All right, so I want a little digging after we had talked to Paul, and to answer his question as to who was inside the Hammerhead costume, well, the answer, nobody.
What?
However, John Berg and Phil Tippett from the Creature Shop, they both operated him like a puppet. Now, John Berg puppeteered his head, and Phil Tippett controlled his eye movements through remote control.
Where did you find this information?
Wikipedia.
All right, well, now let's move on to shout-outs.
Shout-outs, Skywalker shout-outs. Which Skywalkers get props from here in Neverland? Who was tweeted out? Shout out. Who was photobombed? Shout out. Who was shared a post? Shout out.
On episode 198, we had on Brian Volkweiss, who is the creator of The Toys That Made Us, a Netflix docuseries which is so amazing. And just the whole talk with Brian was extremely entertaining. And that episode garnered lots of comments on Twitter, plus a lot of people giving their wish lists of toys to cover. So we wanted to share a few of these tweets. So, at XIcemanX says, "Oh my gosh, by far the best docuseries on Netflix. I am so excited they're releasing 4 episodes in the next few months. Strawberry shortcake, please."
Yeah, a lot of people were asking for the Mego episode.
Yeah.
And I know Brian Volkweiss said he was going to do a episode on the Star Trek merchandise.
Yes.
With a subsection for Mego. No, I need a whole docuseries on Mego itself. Not just a subsection in one episode. So, you know what? Maybe if they go on to another season,
yes,
we can, barrage him with Mego requests.
That sounds good. Well, I did put out a tweet out there to RT if you agree that we need a second season of this series, and a bunch of people RT'd. So, yeah, if you can find that tweet on Skywalking Pod, please RT it. And it is tagging Netflix. So they see that. They see that, guys.
Justin Whalen, who said, "You guys are killing it with these interviews."
Aw, thank you. All right, at Joyce Krebs said, "Great episode. Love the series on Netflix too." So thank you, Joyce. That was lovely. And we had these are all new Tweetwalkers, by the way. It's very exciting. So at Talks on Docs said, "I listened to your podcast interview with at Brian Volkweiss today. Great interview. I really enjoyed it. And your questions about the Star Wars set at the beginning of episode 1 of the series were awesome. I was like, bong." And he put a gif of the guy. If you've seen the Netflix series, which episode is that? The one about
He-Man.
He-Man. There's one of the creators of He-Man who, there's so much infighting as to who actually created He-Man. He kept on doing this long sound effect. So it was really amusing.
Yeah, this one got a lot of attention, this episode. Because
He-Man? Yeah.
No, just our episode on Brian Volk-Weiss.
Yes.
When you start talking vintage toys, like we were saying last time, you just get into a very deep discussion. No matter who it is, you can always talk vintage toys.
Yeah, it's so exciting. And incidentally, at Talks on Docs is a podcast about documentaries. Talks on Docs, get it?
I get it.
And they also interviewed Brian Volk-Weiss. So if you want to hear more from Brian, please head to their latest episode at Talks on Docs. All right, also last episode, we talked about the Star Wars virtual half marathon that is happening. The very first Star Wars virtual half marathon that Run Disney is doing. And yes?
You heard my opinion on these virtual races.
I did. It sparked some discussion because, of course, we asked you Skywalkers what you thought about this. But Samir Bacta at Samir UCLA, he chimed in, yeah, gonna bite the bullet and do Star Wars half virtual. Damn you, Run Disney, just take my money. Agree with Sith Rich, though. It is a money grab. And yet.
And yet, they're grabbing his money.
Yep.
But then again, they promised something, so they had to deliver. So, what choice did they have? Mm-hmm. However, maybe just reduce the price a little bit.
Well, honestly, that is way reduced from what we usually pay for a half
believe
marathon.
me, I know. And if I have a choice of doing a virtual race or an actual race, I'm going to go with a virtual race because that means not having to wake up at 3 in the morning and the freezing California mornings.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Maybe it's a good thing, but still, as Adam Carolla says, yeah, but still.
All right. Well, that was all my shout-outs, but we have the Skywalker of the Week.
Claire Henry, Claire Henry, Claire.
Well, a big congratulations to Claire Henry for getting the Skywalker of the Week, and it was really her tweet to Rian Johnson that set this whole episode in motion, because she was the one who spotted Space Gary in the publicity still of Rose and Finn in The Last Jedi, and there's the Dowager alien right behind them, and the alien's holding Space Gary. So she reached out to Ryan and said, hey, by any chance, is that Space Gary? Is that Gary the dog? Gary Fisher? And he said, nice eagle eyes.
Yep, he confirmed it on Twitter. So super exciting. Yet another reason why, if you're not on Twitter, Skywalkers, go to Twitter because it's super fun.
Yeah, and then I wanted to know about this alien that was holding Space Gary. That's a unusual looking alien we'd never seen before. Did some digging, and there it was, Paul Warren.
Yep.
And here we have Paul Warren on the show. The circle is now complete.
So if you Skywalkers want to be the Skywalker of the Week, all you have to do is tweet about the show, share the show with someone who has not yet subscribed to Skywalking Through Neverland, and just in general, just say nice things about Skywalking Through Neverland, and we will see you and hear you, and perhaps make you Skywalker of the Week. And you get your very own jingle as composed by
John Williams. I'll just talk about John Williams today. Not John Williams, but the next best thing, Rob Dellinger, who is the John Williams of podcasting.
That wraps up episode 199 of
Skywalking Through Neverland.
We would like to thank Paul Warren, Rian Johnson, and, of course, all you Skywalkers who listen every single week. Now, as a reminder, we are on YouTube, and I believe we have over 950 subscribers.
Oh, that really jumped up.
Which means we are less than 50 away to 1,000 subscribers. So please, Skywalkers, head over to youtube.com/skywalkingthrough-neverland and hit that subscribe button. Maybe like a few videos. That would be so exciting for us because at 1,000 subscribers, we get another level on YouTube where we can do more things with you guys. And I think the comments on the YouTube live videos will be saved at that point and things like that. So like the comments that are written live. So it's super exciting. We're almost there. So please head over there.
So what you're saying is the perfect birthday gift for me would be to reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
Skywalkers, challenge has been set. I know you can do it. Now, we are part of RetroZap.com, where you can find great articles and reviews and other podcasts like Brews and Blasters,
Warp Trails,
Beltway Banthas,
The Deuce Cast Movie Show,
Kanata's Castle,
Techno Retro Dads,
and Talking Apes TV, which we're going to have our 50th anniversary special coming up on February 8th. Not 50th anniversary for us, but 50th anniversary for the original Planet of the Apes. So we're going to talk to Bobby Porter.
Wait, we've been doing this podcast for 50 years? What? All right, well, you can also find Skywalking Through Neverland at jedinews.co.uk and fanthatracks.com. And if you want to reach us during the week, we are at Skywalking Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And please tweet at Netflix that we want a second season of At Toys That Made Us. All right? Make sure you do that. And Skywalkers, if you want to be friends with all the other listeners of the show, the other Skywalkers, please head over to Facebook, where we have our Skywalking Through Neverland Facebook group. So just search that on Facebook, and you can then request to join, but then you have to answer the couple questions that pop up, or we cannot let you in. And this group is fun, it's safe, it's positive, there's no bad language, there's no people tearing other people down. It's just a great way to share our adventure through fandom.
Nicely said.
No.
All right, now stay tuned for bits of conversations that didn't make it into the actual episode and times that we had to cough around our segments. So stay tuned for bits of that, as well as other loopy bloopers. So listen there. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Need 1,000 by today, or my birthday doesn't count.
Oh no!
It doesn't count.
No.
Up to you, Skywalkers.
That's right. And then right after that, always remember...
Neverland on Alderaan.
Some imagination, huh?
To our Skywalkers and Tweetwalkers, thanks for listening. Skywalking Through Neverland is created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Original music by Rob Dellinger. Creative consultant Mark Augushowitz. Technical advisor Peter Heitman. Facebook administrators Donald Wicks, Joey Pittman, and Norma Heitman.
Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any sounds, music, and clips played during this podcast are the property of their copyright holders. All original content is property of Skywalking Through Neverland, all rights reserved. Sorry, had to be said.
Because the sooner we do this, the sooner we get to go to Disneyland. Shh. Our last episode, episode 198, we had on Netflix docuseries The Toys That Made Us creator, and he talked about the show. And this is Brian. Bleh. Let me start over.
Yeah.
That sounded weird. Yeah,
reverse that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on episode 198, we had on Brian Volkweiss, who is the Netflix series creator of The Toys That Made Us, which
time?
of course...
It's a lot.
I know. So on episode 198...
This is the top of the shout-outs.
What about it?
Okay. And action.
On episode 198, we had...
Write these.
Sorry, guys.
Hopefully by next week this will be gone. Now we want to tell everyone. All right, move it down. Now stay tuned for bits of conversation that didn't really make it into the show.